Okay, clap.
Cancer related to that.
Oh,
later.
great.
Yeah, and yeah, so after I heard about this like sustainability, your like thoughts on your experience on that, because I'm really into competition,
Mm-hmm.
and I know your competition presentation is always bringing your own story. You are not really, you're not only focused on technical point. You always bring in story, and you mixing those together really well.
Yeah.
Are you going to make a presentation out of this topic in your next?
Honestly,
competition
I
stage?
feel like I should know what I'm going to talk about by now because I've had a year and a half to think about it. But I think because I've had so long to think about it, I keep like changing what I want to talk about. I definitely think there will be some kind of like narrative because I can't do one without that.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that like elements of like what I've been learning over the last year and a half will make its way into my set. I feel like after you learn about like that sort of thing, it's hard not to try and implement it in the things that you do. So I'm sure, but I don't know in what way that's gonna look.
Aren't you naturally think about the competition?
Okay. I think about the competition all the time, but
Yeah.
mostly I think about how I need to start working on the competition. It's always in the back of my mind. And I feel like people like you or Ben, you're like always thinking about like different topics that you want to talk about or like new techniques that you want to present, or there's like always things going through your mind. But I think about it too, but in different ways. I don't really know totally what I'm going to talk about yet. I have an idea.
Yeah.
But it's not nailed down.
Yeah.
I do need to nail that down very soon, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each competition, each competitor have different style of building their presentation, and like me, when I make a presentation for each competition, there's always like things comes up and goes away, and there are lots of like thoughts all the time. And normally I just slice some part that I'm most interested in that certain period of time and make that slice to the competition theme.
Yeah.
So like you've been taking that sustainability course since last competition.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's the biggest topic that you never been used. So it is a fresh topic. Presentation.
Yeah.
And it has really strong message that you can represent other groups of people, like producers' perspective and customers' perspective outside of the survey.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited to see that presentation.
Me too. Whenever, yeah. Me too. I am excited to build this set though. I'm excited to like, I honestly like probably would have done just a version of whatever I did at Nationals had it happened right away. But now that like so much, I feel like so much has changed in the last year. Well, and people are talking about different things. There's all sorts of like, I don't know, over the last year, just so many different thoughts have gone through my mind. Like, oh, maybe I should talk about this topic, or like, oh, maybe I should talk about this topic. And it's always kind of like this revolving door of different topics or like different ideas or different things that are like, I guess, front and center. And so by the time I ever like sit down and actually figure it out, it probably will look very different than had I have done it like 6 months ago or like 8 months ago or even a year and a half ago too. So
I think it is what makes coffee competition super cool, because it is not just about the skill competition, and we barista have a chance to deliver our thoughts during the set. So.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a tricky thing to figure out how to like marry like your coffee and like your technique with what you're talking about, because I think it's really easy to focus on technique and kind of just like put your head down and like try and hit all the parts of the score sheet or like make the coffee the best that you can. But I think once you, like when you're talking about something that people are interested in, like it almost like I'm sure you've seen sets where like someone's talking about something that's like really interesting, and when they can connect it like to their coffee and to the whole experience, it makes it like just something so much more different. And I think that people could be really good storytellers, but then maybe not like connect it fully to like what they're doing on stage. Or people can be like great at making coffee, but like their story doesn't connect at all to the cup. But being able to figure out how your coffee and what you're doing connects with what you're saying is like so major and so hard to do.
Yeah, it is so hard.
Yeah. I know I like in the past, because I'm always so focused on like, obviously like I'm focused on the score sheet, and I know that you need to like do certain things, and obviously I try my best to like get high marks on the score sheet with coffee and technique and that sort of thing. But my personality type is like the kind of person where I like want to talk about something that matters to me, or like something I want to tell a story. And so I think like just feedback that I've had in the past too is like how my story didn't totally connect, and it took me like, well, I guess 5 rounds to like get it right. And so it is a trickier thing to try and get both of those to match up. But when it's done really well, and you can have, it's like the greatest set in 15 minutes. And when you watch people who like really connect like the story and the coffee. Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest difference between experienced competitor and a new competitor. I think that's what I learning so much since beginning and right now. Is at the beginning I was focused on one thing, technique or just story. It's hard to figure out how to connect those two. But yeah, I've seen lots of experienced baristas are getting better and better year after year. Yeah, and I really like watching those like well-made presentations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please keep continuing.
Maybe at least one more time.
Yeah, at least one.
At least one more time at Worlds, and then we'll see from there. I'm not really sure if I'll do more than that. That's what everyone says. Oh, you say that now. But yeah, I mean, I obviously, if I'm not going to compete there, like I really love competition, and I personally feel like competition was definitely like key for my own like coffee like professional life. And like without competition, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to like learn so fast all the things that I got to learn, and meet all of the people that I got to meet, like here across Canada, even like worldwide, going to different competitions. And so I'm like a huge advocate for competition. And so even if I'm not competing, I'll still be like involved in competition, because I really believe in it. And I think it's just like such a great place for baristas to be, whether you're competing or not. Like volunteering and like doing that kind of stuff too is like just as valuable. Judging, volunteering, like all the whole entire like community of competition, I think is so great. So whether or not I'm like making the coffee, I will be there in some way. We'll see.
Yeah, are you interested in being a judge?
Yeah, so I got to judge brewers a couple of years, and
It's just me.
I judged you.
Fine.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I won.
and you won. Yeah, and I got to judge finals the last round of brewers too that we had, and I loved judging. I feel like, especially like Brewers Cup, I mean, I'm sure it's the same for barista. I haven't done it yet, but that like weekend that we did it the very first time, I feel like I learned so much in such a short amount of time. It's like such a different, especially coming from like being on the other side, like being judged, to then like having to judge. I feel like I had like a different definitely as a judge, I had more empathy for the people who were giving their sets than I think some people who haven't like been on the other side. And just learning about like even like how they break down tasting the coffee for brewers is like you have to think about like all these different categories and you don't have much time. You literally like just like it's over so fast, and so being able to like think about all these different like sensory aspects and like different things that you're looking for while you're tasting the coffee is like totally different than just even like from cupping. I know it's very similar to cupping, but I guess because you're like judging someone and their set and like thinking about their set, their coffee, how it tastes, breaking down all of those things, it was like I felt that I learned so much and it was such a good experience. I loved judging, so I would love to keep judging brewers for sure. Barista, honestly, I'm trying to think about myself lasting a whole day drinking like everybody's sig drinks and all of the cappuccinos or milk drinks, whatever they are that people make. And I don't know, I wonder if I can do it. I feel like some people are like really sick at the end of the day because they can't spit. Like they have to drink it all. So I don't know, I think I'd like to try it someday. But for sure, brewers, that was great.
Yeah. I think I cannot be barista competition judge. I will throw up after 2 sets. Right?
I know that's the thing. I feel like it would be hard to be a judge. Yeah. At the end of the day, though, some of them are just like, not feeling so good. And then, like, when you're not feeling well, how do you also like judge? Accurate? I know all these thoughts that go through my mind. But I think even from judging brewers and then competing as a barista competitor, it also gave me like new perspective from like, so I think like doing both helped with like different perspectives, like approaching it where like as other people haven't done like both. I think being a competitor after judging and like being in the deliberation room and like hearing like what people are talking about when they're judging competitors and then thinking about those kinds of things when I'm preparing for my set was super helpful. And then, as a judge, just having like that empathy for the baristas and just like really remembering that like they're nervous, it's fine. Like that's not what we're judging. We're judging like these sorts of things, and like just being able to try and like put myself in their shoes helped me, I think, with my perspective on judging. But I think judging is great. I would recommend you do it someday when you're ever not competing in every competition. You'd be a great judge. Maybe not barista if you think you're going to throw up, but you should do brewers.
Brewers. I think and also when I see myself, my biggest problem is I have like such a clear preference on.
You gotta throw that out the window. You can't. You gotta go by the score sheet.
By the
and
score
not by
sheet.
your preference.
So I'm really bad on that. So.
Okay, maybe don't be a judge.
I'm not really.
Anyone whose panel you're sitting on, I would feel sorry for them automatically, unless they're serving like your coffee. I will. Maybe I'll change my mind in the future. But maybe.
Right now, like if I'm judging,
What about a tech judge? You don't have to drink anything.
Oh yeah, it could be.
Judge. I feel like being a tech judge would be hard too.
I can't believe how they are doing. And when I see tech judges score sheet, like they doing their job really well, and they capture all those notes.
I think one of the biggest things from like my last regional competition to nationals was I switched my focus away from like my main score sheet and like really focused on my tech score sheet, and I really debriefed my tech score sheet with the judges, and I think like that really helped me. So I think like people focus so much on their main score sheet, and I think like even when you have people who are like, for example, just like our top 6 where everybody is like brewing great coffee. Everybody is very good at what they do. Everyone is like can tell a good story. Like it's really close when you think about how close everyone's points are together. And even like, I don't know, I think last year I was like very close to like being, I don't even remember, to the person in front of me. And it's always like, if I would have done this, then like everybody says that if I would have done this, I could have been like whatever this place. But then that person who was ahead of you, like if they had only done something, they would have been ahead of you or even more ahead of you. So not to think about like if I had only done this, but like really looking at your score sheet and like where are these point differentials like really coming from, and like are there easy things that I can do to increase my score. And I feel like tech is like such a good place for that because they're not subjective, like they're very objective points. It's either like a yes or a no, and so if you don't get it, you don't get it. And so when you look at that score sheet, you can really like gain points by focusing on that one. And that was always like, tech was always my downfall. I always just kind of like, it's not that I didn't pay attention to it, like I definitely knew what this score sheet said and like would try to get those points, but I really focused on the tech score sheet from like regionals to national because I knew like everyone is so good, everyone's gonna have good coffee. Like I don't want to think about that score sheet. I want to try and like get those like yes no and try and get more yeses on that score sheet, or like yeah.
And during the practice, it is really important to get used to all those things without thinking. Because during the competition performance, something happened, and if those techniques, small details are not really getting used to it, then when you recovering some like mistakes or like happens, then it's really easy to forget about that small details.
Yeah.
You know? So thanks. And if I lose a point from the technical score, then I will be really
I'm talking sad. To like Captain Tech here, so
technical score. And also that's one of the parts that I really enjoy during the practice. Yeah.
See, that's where we're very different because that part is like it is like a necessary evil for me. Like you have to nail it down. Where I remember like watching you and everybody always talks about like watching you behind the stage because I think one year we were watching you and you were just like casually moving your scales like with your pinkies. Like it was just like you're not really thinking about it. It's just like no problem. And it's just like so everything is like so meticulous and like thought out in your tech side of things. It's very interesting to watch. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, even when I watch other competitors set, and I of course like hear their story, but like, I learn a lot from other competitors. You know, like especially my first year of competition, I don't have any like knowledge or experience about how to make movements efficiently. Yeah. So I always watch other competitors, like their movement, what they do by which order, because there's lots of downtime. Like for example, you run the shot, and until you stop the shot, you have like 25 to 30 seconds. And I try to learn what other processes are doing that. And it's kind of a puzzle, a time puzzle.
A time puzzle. Yeah. Watching lots of YouTube videos of people who like compete all over the world and like at worlds and different competitions, and seeing like how people organize their station or like what order they do things. It really,
where the handle is pointing.
All those things.